I ordered the ZFC when it was first released earlier this year. In fact, I might have even pre-ordered it. I don't remember. So I've had it for a long time, and while it hasn't replaced my Z6 II or my Z7 II in terms of go-to cameras, I have put it through its paces in a number of scenarios. So let's clear up a couple of points right off the bat. Number one, there are plenty of technical reviews out there, and I don't plan to duplicate that. But I will mention the key specs that define the camera's place in Nikon's lineup of mirrorless bodies, as well as in the overall landscape. I'm also wearing this brand new Z hat from Nikon because, number one, I'm having a bad hair day, and number two, I'm anxiously awaiting the arrival of the Z9, as I'm sure many of you are as well. But I am expecting it relatively soon, and as soon as I get it, I will immediately start using it, and I'll start using it in practical ways. So I'm looking forward to bringing you some information about it, and probably in chunks, little mini reviews or mini informational videos about the Z9, because there's going to be a lot of material to cover, obviously. But you probably won't know about any of that if you don't subscribe to my channel, and this is a new channel for me, so I would definitely appreciate you hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button and help me get this thing growing. So I'll start with what drew me to the camera as a customer. First and foremost, the design. The vintage look might be popular with new fashion trends, but it's also appealing to old farts like me who started their photography careers with a camera that looked a lot like this. Talking about the Nikon F and FM bodies, although I believe this body is more closely fashioned after the FM2. My FM2 body was the black workhorse type, but it had the same design features. Of course, mine has the attached motor drive and the signs of wear that indicate that it helped me pay bills for years. So yeah, I get the retro look, and I'm a sucker for it. The ZFC is a DX format camera. What that basically means is it's not a full-frame sensor, and if you use it with full-frame lenses, you'll get a crop factor of about 1.5 to 1. There are times when that's kind of cool, like having a teleconverter, but sometimes it's not desired. Just know that and understand how it changes your images. Pixel quality is good at over 20 megapixels, combined with a nice ISO range of 100 to 51,200. This is a little camera that can perform with a lot of the big boys. Maximum shutter speed is 1/4000th of a second, which by today's standards is limiting, although I do remember when that number seemed like science fiction. It shoots video, of course, and not just any video, good quality video, up to 30 frames per second in 4K or 120 frames per second in full HD. That's awesome if you want to slow things down in post for some tasty slow motion. The camera is feather light at 14 ounces, and it has a very small footprint. Okay, that's it for the specs. If you want more, look them up on Nikon's product page or watch almost any other review. Let's talk about the pros and the cons of this camera. But before we do that, here's the bottom line. I really like it. I'm not at all sorry that I bought it, and it will be reached for often, even though I have sexier and more powerful cameras to choose from. We'll get to why in a minute, but I'm going to start with the things that I don't like as much. These are the cons. The functions and menus are limited compared to the prosumer cameras like the Z6 II and the Z7 II. This is sort of a no-brainer, but with the exception of the things that really need the processing power, it seems like they could have included a few more menu features. Its allure is also its drawback in some ways. It looks old, and it feels old. The very small body feels awkward to handle, and I always feel like I'm going to drop it. That's why it's the only body that I have that wears a permanent strap. Related to that size thing, it's really easy to hit the wrong dial or button, or to hit one when you didn't plan to hit one at all. The most annoying for me is the front right function button. This one right here. It's where the old depth of field preview used to be on an old body. I find myself constantly pressing it when I'm just trying to grip the camera to shoot. The bigger the lens I have on it, the more that happens as I grip deeper and harder onto the camera body to manage the weight. So be very careful what you program that button to do, because you might be pressing it inadvertently and it might be doing that more often than you want. Another big one for me is the exposure compensation dial, which needs a lock, similar to the shutter speed and ISO dials. I've accidentally spun that dial dozens of times while shooting and maybe even just carrying the camera. It's so close to the rear wheel that I've spun it on accident trying to make other adjustments. The result can be some horribly exposed photos if you don't catch that immediately. Ask me how I know. Okay, that's basically all of my gripes, and they're not really big ones. Now for the stuff that I love, or at least really like. I already talked about the styling and the retro design, but I'm going to say it again. Home run. I set this next to my vintage bodies, and I have to look close to pick it out. Well done, Nikon. The size and the weight make it an ideal walk-around camera, or a great vlogging camera. I'm not really a vlogger, although I have cameras pointed at me all the time. I've never really vlogged. But I gotta say, I might use this ZFC to test out that format for some of my content. The fully articulating screen is perfect for the one-man band who needs to be in front of the camera and operate it too. Another big pro is the quality of the build. Come on, it's a Nikon. You can see and feel the quality of the materials everywhere. You can shoot at up to 11 frames per second in full resolution. That's no slouch for a walk-around vlogging camera. Has the Z technology autofocus system, including eye detection for people and domestic animals. It's at a good price point and a great deal with the 16 to 50 kit lens that you see here. I paid just under $1,100, I think, for the camera the way you see it. It's a very good refresher for the basics, something that I didn't realize I needed as much as I apparently do. The bottom line for me is that it's a fun camera, it's a conversation starter, as well as being a serious piece of gear. This is a camera that you'll take with you when you wouldn't bother with other larger ones. And the camera you have with you is 100% better than the one you didn't bring. The ZFC is a great hybrid between old school controls and cutting edge technology. You can blend those two, or you can go totally in either direction. It's up to you. I really like this 16 to 50 kit lens, and I did most of my testing with this lens. But I did also attach other Z lenses, like the 70 to 200 f2.8 S lens. This camera extends its reach to an effective 300mm f4 with the DX crop, and that makes for a pretty decent range. During a walk through some woods, I was able to get usable photos with that focal length that I would not have had with the full-frame body. If I were going to give a new camera to a young person who's expressing interest in photography and video, this is the exact camera that I would want to give them. This way they can learn the old school techniques and understand how to make good exposures and how to stop action or show motion, and explore the newest technology for image making and visual storytelling all in one small, light, and affordable package. And in my opinion, one gorgeous camera, the Nikon ZFC. But if you're just shopping for a DX sensor camera that gives you more options than a point and shoot, but you're probably always going to be shooting in automatic mode or program mode, I think you'll find the ZFC more difficult to use, more expensive than necessary, and possibly a bit frustrating. So be honest with yourself about your camera needs and wants, and if the ZFC fits the description, I think you'll be very pleased with it. So that's it for this one. ZFC is a big thumbs up from me. It does have some drawbacks. It's not perfect. It's definitely not going to replace my prosumer or pro body once I have the Z9, but it does have a place. And that place is the walk-around camera, the vlogging camera, and just as a backup. You know, this is the camera you can keep in the front seat of the car that you'll take with you and that you'll use when you may not want to bring another camera. One of the curses throughout my life, being a photographer and having a lot of gear, it's great that you have all these camera bodies and all these amazing lenses. But then every time you go anywhere, you always have this choice. Do I bring all my crap with me, or do I just not take any pictures? And that's always kind of felt like the choice. This helps find a sweet spot in between where, no, I don't have to bring my camera bag with all my gear and you know, figure out which lenses I think I might need. I could bring this and maybe throw another, you know, the 70 to 200 zoom or the 35 to 70 in the bag, and I'm good to go. I could walk around all day with this camera, or I could put the kit 35 to 70 that came with the Z6 II, I think, when I bought it, on this, and that is like the perfect marriage. And then I just got a good walking around all day camera that can take extremely good images, take great video, and I'll have it with me. With other bodies, I may opt to leave those at home. So if you want to know what I think about the Z9 when it comes in, and you want to know what I think about other cameras, other lenses, other gear, lighting, other equipment, all that kind of stuff, and maybe, you know, what I'm up to and, you know, what challenges I'm facing, that's the kind of content that I'm thinking of producing for this channel. So if that interests you, I would love for you to subscribe, and I hope I'll see you next time.